Speaking on Project 36, it's going to entail the tiering of sports, and I understand that the lower tier is going to become pay to play. They'll have 6 teams and won't have a variety of resources that they've had in the past, like academic resources. Now, I know you've said you aren't cutting sports, but a different economic model is just necessary. Just walk me through this. What does this mean, and how will the university change because of it?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, though, and it's something that we're, again, constantly dealing with. At the start of this, I said we were in, 4 or 5 different meetings, the last couple days, and so the way we've approached this is Ohio State athletics. We generate a healthy amount of revenue, but we also spend a healthy amount, right? And so how we spend our money is what we're really focusing on right now. What does that look like? Knowing that we're going to have a new expense of at least $21 or $22 million of revenue share that we'll be able to really distribute to the athletes. And so we're working on what sports, receive that revenue share. But we've got to offset that 21, 22 million somewhere, either new revenue or a reduced expense allocation. So we're going through a whole process. We have not made any final decisions. There are some things out there, unfortunately, prematurely reported. We have not made any final decisions, but the way we look at it, and we have 36 sports, so thus we call it Project 36. We want to protect 36 sports. So we have principles: protect 36 sports, make sure we continue to focus on academics. We have a 96% graduation and placement rate of our athletes. Let's make sure we maintain that. Our GPA of all of our student athletes is over a 3.3. So focus on academics, focus on competitive success, but we may have to redefine expectations. What does that mean in this new landscape? Knowing we might be competing against programs who lessen their resources as well. So what does sort of competitiveness look like? We have to balance the budget. To the point you brought up, we don't want to go in a deficit. And then we need to modernize and lead in this new era with 36 sports, where maybe people look at us and say, "Oh, Ohio State did it this way," and that's a leadership position for us. So we're essentially going to have three buckets of financial aid for our athletes. We'll have a bucket that includes scholarships, traditional scholarships, plus revenue share. That'll be one category. We'll have a bucket that only includes scholarships, and we'll have a bucket where some sports do not receive any scholarships from athletics. They can pursue academic scholarships, they could pursue their own name, image, likeness opportunities that we can help facilitate. But essentially, those are the 3 categories. And mapping out what sports go in what category is what we're working on now. There's lots of different twists and turns to this House case settlement, which is really providing the roadmap. We're getting different interpretations. I mentioned 21 or 22 million. We don't have the final number yet. And so the difficult part in this is we can't tell our coaches, okay, here's exactly your plan for volleyball or lacrosse or women's golf, and that's frustrating. The other part of this is we now have roster limits for each sport. Instead of having scholarship limits, we'll have roster limits. And so that we'll lose about 150 to 175 athletes. Right now we have 1,100. That will go down because of these roster limits. But we have to adhere to that. That's part of the court case. That's part of the settlement. So managing all of that, managing the budget, managing the allocation, managing the revenue share, there's a lot of work going into it because if we're going to have a sport, we want to be competitive. But what does that mean? What's the definition of that moving forward, and how should we view that here at Ohio State? And so those are all the things that we're putting on the table. We're also bringing, so this is a lot, Noah, so bear with me. We're also bringing, what new revenue ideas can we bring to the table? What does all that look like? What are people okay with if we can be creative and we can add new things? I've said some things, I've answered some questions about, different elements of what might be out there, and some people might bristle to that. And the answer is everything has to be under review right now, because we have to pay for this new model. We have to do what's right while maintaining 36 sports. So everything's under review. We're still modeling. We hope we can have some kind of clarity in the next 30 to 45 days on what our model is, and give our coaches some clarity as we map this out. So there's a lot of moving pieces to all of this, and the good thing, we have a great team I've been really impressed with the pre-work that was done before I got here, the work that was done during the overlap with Gene, and then all the work that we've done since July 1st. And so our team is working on this constantly, and we'll have the right plan. We'll be on the right side of the equation. We're Ohio State. Whatever that equation is, we're going to be on the right side of it. And so we just want to get to that point. We want to get to that point where we can say, this is it. And we're getting closer.